Art 2 students, hello. I'm going to teach you how to measure out your border for your Zentangle triptych, because we want to make 3 panels for you to draw on this one piece of paper. So this is an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and since 11 and 17 are prime numbers and sometimes, you know, hard to divide by, right? I tried to think of a way to make the math as easy as possible. So what we're going to do is 1.5 inch borders all the way around, and then just 1 inch borders in between the panels. So I already started this because this is round 2 of my video, because my camera went out of focus and I couldn't get it to come back into focus. So I'm just going to take you through the same thing. So what happens is, I learned, I think in high school, I took an architecture class, and I learned there to never use the ends of my ruler, because if you ever drop your ruler or it gets banged up and it doesn't give like a totally accurate measurement. So when I measure, I actually move that 1 from the 1 inch or whatever is, I mean, if you're using the 17, that works fine too. But I measure, or I line up that first number with the edge of my paper to make sure that I get an accurate measurement. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to measure over 1.5 inches. So 1 inch is just every number is an inch, right? And 1/2 inch is marked by the longest line in between those 2 numbers. So we're going to go over 1 inch and 1/2 inch, and then you're just going to make a little notch with your pencil. And then you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side of your paper, since you already have it all, you know, here and ready to go. So this time, let's just do this. We'll line it up with that 16 so that I know that there's a number there and I can line it up correctly. And then I'm just measuring over 1 inch and 1/2 inch. Again, that's the longest line, and you're making a little mark where that is. And then you just have to move your ruler to a different space and do the same thing. So again, well, let's do it down here. If I line it up, my inch mark right on the edge of my paper, you're going over 1.5 inches, you're making a mark, and then you're doing the same thing on the opposite side, 1.5 inches, making a mark. Okay, now that we have those marks done, you can use them as kind of like a connect the dots, right? So you're putting your ruler right up against those dots. I don't know how well, maybe I should move this. I want you to see this. So you're lining them all up so it's right flush with the ruler, and then very gently you're just going to hold your pencil very lightly and you're going to drag it along there. And that way you can erase this line later, because we're going to do it edge to edge because that's just easier. And then you don't have to have your other measurements already done, so that's why we want to draw very, very lightly. Okay, so you can kind of see those lines. And then we're going to do the same thing on the vertical side of the paper. Where am I going? Over here. I'm going to use that 1, right? Measure it up, go over 1.5 inches. And then same thing on this side, since that 12 is right there, I'll just measure off of that and go 1.5 inches. And then move my ruler down to a second spot on the paper and do the same thing. And then if you only have a 12-inch ruler, you might have to do this a couple times, or maybe do like 3 marks. I'm not going to be able to show you this. Okay, we'll do it this way. Line your ruler up along those dots, and then lightly take your pencil across. And then one more time up here. Also, you got to be careful that your ruler doesn't have any like charcoal, graphite, any of those things leave smudges on your paper too, so you kind of want to make sure. See, I'm getting mine a little bit dirty too. So that's it for the border, and then we are going to do 1-inch borders inside here because I thought that'd be easier. So again, to measure, I usually measure from the 1. This is going to be confusing, but if you do that, you just have to subtract 1. So again, you should measure from the end of the ruler, but because I learned that doesn't give you an accurate measurement, I line it up at the 1, and then since it says 15 on the other end, you just subtract 1, and so I know it's 14 inches across. So 14 minus 2 inches, because we're going to have two 1-inch borders, so 14 minus 2 is 12 inches. So that's what we want. That's what we're really dividing that number up by. So you're dividing 12 by 3 because we're going to have 3 of the same size panels, right? And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So then I know to measure over 4 inches. And we're doing it the same thing so we can connect the dots. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. I'm going to go over 1 inch for my border. And then I'm going to go another 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 inch for my border, and then I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 inches left. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing. So line that up. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, 1 inch for my border, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, 1 inch for my border, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for the last panel. So again, like I purposely did the math this way to make it easy to do with a ruler. You can, decide to do a 1/2 inch border in between the middle, and that's going to change your outside numbers, and you can do any of that. I'm just showing you literally the easiest way we can do it. Okay, so now that you have all of your little notches, we're just connecting those dots to make our 3 panels. So that's where your actual Zentangle drawing is going to go. It's going to go in these 3 panels. So then I'm going to get a Sharpie marker and I'm just going to outline where I'm actually drawing. And you could probably draw your images first and do this at the end. I just want you to kind of see what we're actually working with. Also, you can decide with your Zentangle, like, to kind of go outside of these borders. Like, maybe you're making an elephant and you want the trunk to go out and overlap the border, or you're making a snake and you want it to curl around the border. You could incorporate some of the border too and make your drawing a little more dynamic. That might be fun. But I'm just going to show you how to, where these boxes are, I guess, is what I'm doing, and then how to erase your lines. So now you'll start to see what a triptych actually looks like. So I'm just holding my ruler a little close. There's a little bit of a gap there because my Sharpie tip is thicker than a pencil. And I'm just lining it up and then just drawing where I want the actual box to be. Obviously with the Sharpie we're not going to draw all the way across. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so now you have your triptych. You take, ask me for one of those big erasers, but then you're erasing all of these lines outside, which is why we drew them so lightly, so that they'd be very easy to erase. Okay, and then you can't see them anymore. So you're going to do that for all the lines, and then you can draw your zentangles inside the panels, right? Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to help you with the math on this or using a ruler. I'll see you in class. Bye.